lovely cushioned header. But Gerrard! What a head, son! What a head! Well, you take a tap in these circumstances. What you have seen.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the post-game podcast brought to you by the LFC Couch. My name's Steve, and as usual, on a Thursday, we're going to try and do this, and I'll be your host. Joining me today, though, I've got three fine specimen to come and chat about the champagne football performance that Liverpool put on in the early hours of this morning for us and later in the evening for one of the others. So, first up, we've got my usual partner. So we've got Lee. So Lee, how are you doing?
Oh, very good, Steve. Much like all of us. I'm bouncing off the walls.
All going to be happy. And then the remaining two, we have got two other members of the LFC Couch that we haven't heard from for a while. So first up, we have got James Nicholson joining us from sunny Melbourne. How you doing, mate?
Doing very well, thank you, Steve. I don't know if it's sunny, especially being in lockdown, a bit worse than everyone else in Australia. So I can only get a slight glimpse of outside, but shining on the inside, shall we say.
Good. Busy at the moment with a 6-month-old and a new job and everything?
Yeah, I thought I'd already juggled a lot in my life, but my God, juggling even more now, especially during the lockdown period. But I tell you what, I wouldn't change it for the world.
No, that's all good. And you're sporting, for those who probably you won't be able to see it, you're sporting a lovely moustache at the moment.
Yeah, it's only taken me about the entire 6 months since my child was born to actually grow it. But yeah, it's
good old Gary Neville.
Yeah, I'll pretend I didn't hear that. But yeah, it's always nice to have a little bit of a change. Yeah,
and while we're on the subject of facial hair, our final member of the chat, who is sporting a magnificent beard at the moment, we've got Jussi joining us from Finland. Jussi, how are you doing?
I'm really good, really good. Just
good.
A bit sunburned, but otherwise really well.
Sunburn? Did you get a nice day in the sun today, or was that yesterday?
Yesterday, I was playing frisbee golf and tennis, both like 6.5 hours altogether. So
amazing.
Wow.
So before we go on about the football, I saw your tweet about the frisbee golf. So is that the frisbee golf where you've got the target? It's like a basket with the chains that hang down, and you've got to get it in.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Beautiful.
You call it disc golf. Is the proper way.
Disc golf.
Yeah. That I think. Yeah.
And the most important question is: are you any good at it?
No, obviously not. Yesterday was my first effort of having like a proper a tournament or competition, and well, I wasn't the last one, but out of like 100 players, I think I was like something 84 or something. No, it wasn't.
That's all right.
Yeah, but it was my first effort. It was good fun though.
I've seen it, and I'd like to give it a go at some stage. But
yeah, it's good fun.
Got to get round to it.
Before we go anywhere else, can I just say how much Jussi looks like Jurgen Klopp without a pair of glasses on?
Yes.
Get him on, Jussi. Get your glasses on.
Get the glass on. Get a cap on.
Get the snook.
I suppose.
That is uncanny. It is fantastic. It's like we're having a chat with the man himself.
It's almost like it was intentional.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, Jussi, can you go and get a pair of glasses on and a cap?
I wish I had.
Anyway, let's move on. So
I actually need a pair of glasses, so I might as well get the ones that make me look even more like Jurgen.
Sounds like a plan. There you go. We've just created a new job for you. You can be the lookalike of Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
Done.
But I was also called Obi-Wan Kenobi on Twitter the other day, and so my disc golf nickname is Obi from out of bounds. Like this, if you throw it out of bounds, that kind of thing. So my nickname is Obi-Wan Kenobi, but OB, just an OB.
I like that. That's good.
Steve, you can be Danny Murphy.
Hey mate, it's better than some of the ones I've had in the past, like Jay Spearing and stuff like that.
I was thinking of Jay.
So I'll beat you to it. I may as well get in there first before anyone else chips in.
Better than Paul Kaczewski.
I'll take him, Mulby.
That's naughty.
Right, on that note, enough abusing me of who I look like. Let's get on to the game, because there was an interesting game this morning for us and Jussi for you last night. A lot of positives we're going to go through. But first of all, I want to sort of rewind to before the game. And every time we come round to playing Palace, I think it's the same for you guys as well. It's always one of them teams that we just think it's not going to be a pretty game. It's going to be a horrible game. It's going to be dogged. It's going to be ugly. There's always this thing in the back of your head that they're our sort of bogey team from the results that they've had against us in the past. Because obviously, if you look back, they are the last team that beat us at Anfield back in 2017, I think it was, in April. And then they also beat us again under Jurgen Klopp, where Scott Dan scored the late winner and all the crowd started to leave, which Jurgen Klopp was not happy about. And then there was a time in Steven Gerrard's last game at Anfield as well, where they beat us. So those games stick in the memory, but when you start breaking it down, they said it on the commentary just before the game started, we've actually beaten them before yesterday's or today's game. We've won the last 5 in a row against them. So it's not as bad when you start breaking it down that way. But I put a tweet out, I messaged you guys in the group just to see what people were thinking beforehand and just run through it. Lee, you went with a 2-0. James, you came back with a good response of, just give me a win, don't care.
I was thinking of first half.
Good answer. Pete from the couch said it would be a 1-0 shit win. Nish went with 2-0. A couple of guys off Twitter were going 3-0, 2-0s, 2-0s. And then we had one guy on Twitter, Marko Ivakovic, who said, don't normally take this seriously and my predictions are a bit of a joke, but he went 4-0. So fair play. So you can't argue with that. I went with a 2-1 win and I said it was going to be real horrible and shit. And I just expected a real dogged performance by them. And how wrong could we be? So obviously we went into it. The lineup, I think, was what everyone was expecting. So you've got the normal back 5 with Joe Gomez coming back in for Joel Matip. And then throughout the midfield, Gini Wijnaldum came back in and Hendo and Fabinho kept their place. And then Mo Salah was recalled up front alongside Firmino and Mane. So it's the lineup we all wanted, I think, give or take. Some people went for Naby Keita over Gini Wijnaldum, but I thought this is the lineup we'll go for, and it was good to see. So we started well. I don't know what you guys thought. Sort of the first 10, 15 minutes without any product at the end of it, we still looked like we were playing quite well. And I think it wasn't key as such, but there was a big moment in the 15th minute where Wilfried Zaha went off injured, which he is one of the most inconsistent players I've seen, but he always seems to turn up against us. So any of you think that had a big impact on the game, or it was going to just go the way it did anyway? Go with you, James. You were nodding.
Yeah, I think it had an impact on the game to an extent. I don't think, if you look at the first 10, 50 minutes, Liverpool were in complete control, to be honest. I think bringing Robbo back into the side, that showed a marked difference compared to the performance that we had in general from the side against Everton on the weekend. But I think with Zaha leaving the game so early, that actually afforded a lot more freedom down both flanks, actually. I feel that they were going to target Trent as a potential weakness in the side. So if they got a break, that's where they were going to go. They're going to go down that right-hand side. As soon as Zaha was injured, Max Meyer was never going to have that sort of capability to put pressure on the wing-backs, the full-backs, or the defence in general. So I still think we would have walked away with a victory, no doubt, even if Zaha was still playing. But I still think him walking off the pitch that early on, it gave us a boost. And I think it probably set Crystal Palace back to just try and minimise. And if luck goes their way, get a point at the best. But we were in so much control as soon as we saw that injury. We just started playing such wonderful football, which obviously carried on, and then that led to what came to be a fantastic victory.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we were playing the football at the early stages was very good, just without that final product, the end product on there. But you could see from quite early on, I think Pete put a message out in the group, and it was a picture of how many defenders that Palace had back. And it was looking like it was going to be another game like that Everton one, where they were just literally going to defend for their lives. And But once that first goal went in, it was sort of just opened it up, which was great, exactly what we needed. The longer it would have gone on at 0-0, I think it might have got a bit twitchy, a bit edgy, but to get the goal when we did was perfect. So while we go on to that first goal, it obviously come about, I don't know if you remember, it was a stupid foul by Ayew on Van Dijk. He's never going to beat Van Dijk in the air, so he just went stupid challenge. I remember commenting it at the time before the goal had even gone in. That's just a ridiculous foul. He just looked frustrated the whole game, but that's another discussion completely. But Lee, thoughts on the free kick?
It was pretty much as expected. Hennessy isn't the youngest of keepers or the most agile. So it was clear as day, whoever it had been, Trent, Salah, Fabinho, Henderson, whoever would have taken it, should have scored. Clearly we saw after the free kick that the wall kind of just stopped doing what the wall does. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't. If Trent would have missed, I'd have been pissed off. It was prime position. Yeah,
you should. You should be
yeah.
expecting him to hit the target from where he is.
At the very least, yeah.
You see, what were your opinions on the Crystal Palace goalkeeper and wall in this one?
Well, it was. I think it was quite obvious that he was a bit too far to his right.
Mm.
And the weird thing was that the smallest guy of the wall was on the left, which was exactly the place where Trent would be aiming. And I think it's quite clear that Salah was never going to take that free kick. He was just there as a decoy. And also, well, the thing is, it wasn't actually the smallest guy on top that the ball went in, but it was Ayew who jumped, but he just jumped just a bit too late. But it was kind of weird. Anyway, how he was formed the wall, I don't know. I do the exact like the other way around, that I would put a bit taller guys on the right, but that's what you do, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it and I said, I don't want to take anything away from.
Right. Yeah.
I was a keeper, yeah,
right.
and I
The
cat, yeah, definitely reactions of a cat. But I looked at it and I don't want to take anything away from Trent's free kick because the actual execution of it and the placement of it was fantastic, and just the right amount of swerve to just cut it on the inside of that post. But one of the first things I saw when I watched the replay was, where was Hennessy stood when the free kick was taken? He was so far across, and then he's got his wall covering a portion of the goal, but the final player is literally just in line with the post. So all Trent had to do was get it just a little bit outside of that wall and just a tiny bit of swing, and that's straight back in. If you're going to position someone on that post, they need to be outside of the post slightly. And then Hennessy should have set himself a couple of steps to his left. And then he's got the majority of his goal covered. Whether that was a ploy and he's not as comfortable diving to his right, I don't know, because every goalkeeper has a favourite side they like to go, and you can normally tell it by how they position their wall. So if he's more comfortable diving to his left, he's going to set up his goal where he's closer to his right hand post, and then he's got a lot more goal to cover where he's more comfortable. But he gave himself so much to get across, and his footwork was so slow that it was ridiculous. But yeah, take nothing away from Trent's execution of it. It was fantastic. And as I said before, Andy, exactly what we needed at that time, because I think as you start approaching half-time, with the way the Everton game went, if it carried on at 0-0 for much longer, then we're going to be in trouble. Well, not in trouble, but you might start to think, oh, here we go again, and without the crowd to sort of G the players up. But it wasn't the case. Fantastic goal and set us up nicely. And then they had... I looked at the stats. They had 3 shots in the whole game. And obviously none of them were on target. There's the stat flying about that they didn't even get the ball in our penalty area, which is like the first time since 2008, since they were doing the stats with Opta. But at 1-0, I think they had their best chance, which was Max Meyer. When Joe Gomez did the loose header, Max Meyer ran onto it, took it forward, and then just drilled it wide. But apart from that, we remained completely untroubled for the game. So it was all just one-way traffic, which was really enjoyable to watch after the drab performance that we had against Everton at the weekend. Everyone got a bit low and a bit depressed, as if we weren't 20-odd points clear at the top of the league. But was just good to see that click into gear. So obviously just before half-time, we got the second goal, which was scored by Salah. So James, thoughts on that goal? Talk us through it.
So that was a goal that was coming. It was great to see Salah back. Salah's one of these players who, when you watch him, sometimes you can get frustrated because it seems like he takes one touch too many. He tries to take on one too many players. But you need a player in your side like that, because every time the ball's at his feet, there is a chance that something's going to come off. And he had a few chances beforehand, didn't quite pay off. You've got to remember this is Mo Salah's first competitive game in over 100 days, so maybe give him a little bit of slack on that. Obviously, he didn't play against Everton, and it was evident that we were missing his quality in that game. But the goal itself was simply sublime in so many different ways. The ball over the top from Fabinho, who I just put out there now, he was my man of the match. Simply outstanding from the offset. Probably was a little bit rusty against Everton, came into the game, but I feel in this match here, he just stole the show completely. Yeah. His short passing game, his ball over the top as well, particularly with the assist to Salah, who read the line perfectly. Van Aanholt had absolutely no chance at all of being able to try and stop that one getting over the top. Brought down by Salah perfectly, who just had to dink it past Wayne Hennessy into the back of the net. It was the perfect Liverpool goal. I feel it sort of summed up the way that we've played this season, how well this team connects. And what I think is more impressive is it came at a time when Liverpool were keeping the ball moving. We kept recycling. Crystal Palace were sitting there with their low block, trying to stop anything coming through. And we've seen in seasons before, during Jurgen Klopp's era, and even before then, when we come up against sides like that, and all we can do is just pass the ball around on the edge of the box, and it seems plan A doesn't work, plan B doesn't work, and we don't actually have a plan C, so we're going to try plan A once again, and hopefully that works. But now we've actually got such a vast skill set in our squad from different players, and I know it's been mentioned before about lack of midfielders scoring goals and all this sort of things, and where do your goals come from? When you've got players like Mo Salah up top, it doesn't matter about the other players scoring goals, because you've got someone who's so gifted like him, and you've got players around him who just know how to feed the ball to him so that he can be set up to score. We've got so many different options now, and all we do is we just keep trying, we keep recycling, keep the ball moving, let Crystal Palace, or whoever it is that we're playing, sit back and try and do the low block. Eventually, we're going to come out with a solution, and that's been such a huge change in our game over the last couple of seasons. It just epitomised, I think, our season. A goal like that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was a great goal. I don't know if the rest of you thought of it or will agree with me after I say it. The actual execution of the goal and the pass actually reminds me of, it was Sadio Mane's goal against Man United last season. Yeah. So it came again from Fabinho. He's straight on the goal. And that's the thing. It's not a diagonal pass. It's literally a lofted straight pass, which is so hard to execute to get that perfect, because you overhit that slightly, the keeper's on it. You underhit, the defender's got it. It's executed perfectly. And it's weird because I look at all four of the goals and I can associate each one of them with a recent goal that we've scored as well. So it sums up a sort of certain way we play. Like the Trent free kick, his execution of how he hit it. I know it was different the last time. It's the Chelsea one at Stamford Bridge earlier this season. I know in the Chelsea one, it was rolled to him, but it was the way he struck it, the height that it went in, right in that same corner. It reminded me of that. This Mo Salah goal was basically very similar to that goal against Man United that Mane scored, and probably more because Fabinho played that nice dinked through ball, and it was perfect, brought down on the chest, and then just Mane drilled it past De Gea when he did it, but Salah just took his moment, didn't snatch at it, and just buried it in the bottom corner, which was great to see, and it just set us up perfectly to go in half-time 2-0. You think there's only one way this game is going. It's not looking like Palace are going to bring it onto us at all. So it was a sort of fantastic first half, and it was just really enjoyable to watch. I mean, I know a lot of people complained in the Everton game, saying, it was an anticlimax, but I enjoyed watching that game just purely because it was good to have Liverpool back on the TV after all this waiting. But the game itself wasn't good, but this one was just, it was nice to kick back and relax and just watch the game without thinking, oh, what's going to happen next? It was just once it went to 2-0, game over. And then obviously, second half, we just carried on where we'd left off. So we had the third goal, which was Fabinho's goal. Thoughts on that, Lee?
Well, again, as you were about to say, it refers back to almost a City game as well.
Yeah.
Similar place, obviously different part of the pitch, but very, very similar. And it is a magnificent strike, especially when you think he's more of a defensive midfielder. He's not, your Coutinho or some sort of like a Zidane or an attacking midfielder of sort who you would expect to hit it nicely. Defensive midfielder, man, he hit that so clean. And don't get me wrong, Hennessy's not the most agile of keepers, like I said before, but you're not stopping that.
Nobody's saving that, no.
You're not stopping that. It was an absolute peach. And
Yeah.
I don't think I can say anything that hasn't been said already about it. It was absolute belter of a goal, and yeah, we're on our way home after that.
Yeah, it was a rocket, wasn't it? I mean, it was one of those
Yeah.
shots that had no backlift on it at all. He just levered it through it, and it just went in completely one height. Sort of reminiscent, different strike, but like Gerrard's against Olympiacos, when he hit that, it just fizzed at one level. And I shouldn't really
Sounds like
compare it to
hard
that because of the importance that the Gerrard goal was, but I sort of just sat back in awe of this goal this morning. It was
Gerrard's
good.
Bounce as well. Let's not forget.
Oh, look,
That's a
I'm
lot
not
harder
comparing
to
it.
hit
I'm
that.
just talking about the trajectory of the shot. It just reminded me of that. But you are right. As I was watching it, it was similar to the City one. Different post, but the way he struck it and the level of the shot. And as I say, no keeper is saving that. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And James, you mentioned it earlier as your man of the match. So he would be mine as well. We'll come to it at the end, but again, he would be mine. It's just good to have him back playing at the level that he was prior to his injury. You mentioned it earlier. He had about probably 10, 15, 20 minutes quite scrappy against Everton at the weekend. And then from there, he stepped it on. And then today, he was phenomenal. And it's good because he came back from that injury just before the season was suspended, and he didn't look up to scratch. So I don't know if he wasn't quite ready to come back, or he didn't have whether he lacked a bit of confidence in his knee because of the injury he had. You never know. But this time off looks to have helped him, which is great. So all good on that front. So with that goal, we then moved on and went up 4-0 up, which was quite good. I thought we'd go on and get more after that, but we stuck with the 4. So the fourth goal was Mane's goal. So Jussi, just talk us through your thoughts on Mo Salah's pass on that goal.
Yeah, well, you could see that they see each other so well, Mane and Salah, and those are the plays they want to be operating in. And well, before that, I'd like to say something about all the 4 goals. All of them were started with really good counter pressing or just regular pressing, and Bobby was very influential in that, in many of those situations. We got free kicks or whatnot, and also this Fabinho goal started from Bobby stealing the ball. And well, what happened after that was another thing, of course. But this goal, it also started with VVD guiding this. I think he was. Well, never mind. The right wing Townsend. Yeah, Townsend to the right. Yeah, he was on the corner flag, and then before that there was Fab and Genie really darting past to help him on there. And after that, there was a bad pass. Mane got it by accident, but one touch to Firmino. Then this little couple of touches, he turns away like he does with tons of confidence and gives it to Salah, and then he just sees it directly, like, one touch, bang, it's there. When it goes past the defenders, it's a goal. It's a goal. It's Mane is never gonna miss that. It's so beautiful.
I think he's perfected that.
Absolutely my favorite goal of all those four. I mean, those nice free kicks and nice shots, like, you get them sometimes, but this, like, something about it, like straight from the off, when you saw us win the ball, I felt like this could be something. We're good at this.
Yeah, that's our bread and butter.
My favorite goal.
We put the press on them, we win the ball, and then we just snatch them quick on the counter. And as soon as that ball went into Salah, I did not expect him to hit it first time on his right foot. I have to admit, I was a bit like, what the fuck just happened there? And I think Gene in the WhatsApp group was getting a bit excited about that. So it was good to see. But you mentioned it there, Jussi, with Mane. When he was through, there was no way he was going to miss. The amount of times we've seen him go through off that wing, that exact angle, and he just sets himself, and he always just guides it in that far corner. He did it against Leicester at home earlier in the season, which is one of the goals it reminded me of, where James Milner played fantastic ball down the line on the outside of his boot. And if you go back to last season's game against Crystal Palace, where we won 4-3, Mane scored, not the build-up, because this one was Robbo just kept it in line and put it, sort of sliding on the touchline, put it down the line to Mane, and then Mane runs through exactly like he did this morning. And he just takes that split second to set himself, and you can see his body, he opens the angle up, and he just caresses it into the corner. And it's something that I see. If he goes through now like that, I'm expecting him to score. If he turns away and he hasn't scored, then I'm disappointed on that one. And he just seems to have perfected that now. It's a real sort of good finish. What was that, you see?
Reminds me of Thierry Henry.
I was exactly about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
You would never expect him to miss that.
No chance.
You know what's go.
Yeah,
Mane's the best finisher by a mile in our team.
He seems to have just got that composure now. In the last couple of seasons, you put him through, he seems to be knowing what he's doing. We're all confident in him now. I mean, you go back a couple of years ago, I think he missed. There was a real big chance in the Merseyside derby that he missed, and it seemed to play on his mind for about 3 months. And he went through that. It was Mo Salah's first season, and he sort of had a real poor patch, and then he came back with a screamer against Burnley, I think it was, on his weaker foot, and then he went from there. But he just seems to have gone up every season, just goes up another notch of how composed he is. And
absolutely world class,
great player to have. And I think we've all mentioned Salah coming back and the impact he has on our team. Not going to devalue that at all, because that is true. You could see the difference there. Him pulling out wide right meant that Henderson could stay more centrally, which was a big difference between Everton, because in the Everton game, Minamino was pulling in tight, and then Henderson was pulling out to the right-hand side, and it didn't seem to work. So having Salah out on the wide right meant Henderson could tuck in centrally, and we bossed that midfield there. But one other player who came in, and I think is key to everything we do as well, is Andy Robbo. I mean, he doesn't get plaudits all the time, but his performance for me, just him being there, that left-hand side between him and Mane, I would hate being a right back against them. It would just be awful. They sort of seem to be in sync with each other all the time. It's as if it just comes naturally to them. And Andy Robbo gets a bit of praise every now and again, but I don't think he gets enough. He is phenomenal at what he does. He doesn't stop. He's like a little shit that just runs up and down and annoys people. But he doesn't. You get players that do that and they're annoying, like your Robbie Savage. But Andy Robertson has the talent, more talent as well. And I just think he's a phenomenal player. And it was just great to have him back out there. And him and Mane just have that. It's as if they're like telepathic of where everyone's going to be. They just boss that left-hand side the whole time. And it was just, for me, very good to see. James, I'm sure you're proud as a Scotsman of him coming in and doing the business again.
There is nothing better than watching a Scotsman boss it down that left-hand side and make anyone else look absolute shithouse. The best thing about Andy Robertson being back was that he was already being an absolute shithouse within 30 seconds of the game kicking off. Yeah. He was already mouthing off at someone, and obviously there's a lot.
That was your fellow Scotsman, James MacArthur.
Yeah.
You fell on him.
Anyone from Hamilton deserves what he gets, believe me. But that's part of Andy Robertson's game that actually makes a difference. He actually winds people up, and he knows he does it, and he doesn't get too involved. He just does what he needs to do, winds someone up and walks away. But the biggest difference, and obviously when we played against Everton, it's the team's first game back after 100 odd days. We can't really, as much as we wanted to beat the Ev, you can't really expect an explosive start, especially when you look at the lineup that we put out there, the players that we rested, everything like that, especially given the circumstances around how football's being played in June 2020 right now. But the way you saw it straight away, Andy Robertson was running up and down that bloody left-hand side as if there was only one can of Iron Brew left in the corner shop. It was unbelievable. It was just phenomenal. But that's the difference. The Crystal Palace right-hand side just did not have a chance to breathe. They just had to watch him every single time. There was a moment in the game where he ran down, he played a ball in, it came back, and Crystal Palace tried to clear it, and they just took a half second too long. And before you knew it, Andy Robertson was already back in there, snapping heels, trying to, let his presence be felt. And that's the kind of player you need. That's the intensity. That's what you need from your fullbacks when they're going forward. You really need them to hustle, to hassle, to really make life difficult. And I've seen a few things online, and obviously everyone's got an opinion about the game. But I think Gini Wijnaldum just got maybe didn't get the much praise at all. Everyone's saying he had a quiet game, wasn't quite effective. What was effective about Gini Wijnaldum's game was him allowing Robbo to have that freedom. So when Robbo is going, Gini Wijnaldum is slipping back into that space to cover, because as soon as that ball breaks and Crystal Palace think they might have a chance, it's already swept up. And it's going straight back to Virgil van Dijk or Joe Gomez, who are recycling it, and now we're going to the right-hand side, or it's coming back down the left-hand side again, and they don't have a chance to restructure, reorganise defensively. Crystal Palace, that is. So obviously, as a Scotsman, it's always a wonderful thing seeing Andy Robertson do what he does. One day he's going to score one of these long-range rockets that he keeps trying. But there's a reason that he keeps getting played. I remember when we started playing him around about the December time, just after we had signed him. Yep. And everyone had mixed feelings about how much of an impact he was going to have. And people didn't think he was doing that well, because we had obviously Coutinho at the time before he went to Barcelona. And Coutinho just, every time there was an opportunity to pass to Robbo, would cut inside and try something else. And obviously Coutinho moved on, Sadio Mane's out wide on the left. And the way those two link up, you think they've been mates for life. It's just unbelievable how well they know each other. It was mentioned before, it's like we telepathically seem to know where each other is on the pitch. Those two link up down that left-hand side so well, better than what I've seen before watching football, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about the two of them combining is, I mentioned it's as if they know what each other's going to do, but it's the graft that both of them are prepared to put in. Andy Robertson knows that if he bombs forward, Sadio Mane is not going to think twice about just cutting in behind him and shielding him if need be. For someone who's so attacking, like Sadio Mane, it's rare to see. Now, Salah will do that, but you don't see it as much as you do down the left flank. So I think sometimes you see Trent get a little bit exposed, but that wasn't the case in this game because it was such a bloody breeze. But it's exactly the game we needed. Me and James have both said Fabinho would have been our man of the match. There's quite a few players you could pick out that are worthy of a shout. So you got Fabinho, you got Robbo, as we mentioned, coming in. You got Salah, Sadio Mane, you got Firmino doing the work he does, that just pulls all the strings, opens things up, gives the space for the other attackers. But Jussi, would you pick anyone else as your man of the match other than Fabinho, or would you fall in line with that?
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah. Obviously, there were very many good performances, and as Gini also played really well, although he missed a couple of good chances, but his pressing was really immense. And like you said earlier, like the way he works with Robbo, it's very nice to see that we're starting to get these some players that just really play well together, and I started this conversation earlier about like us having this 11 specifically for pressing the ball. And for those two players, for instance, they work perfectly with, you could say Mane on the left also. He's one of very influential players there. But yeah, like you can't overlook Fabinho's performance. It was just something really, really perfect. And we're talking about these situations where he's making these good passes, and he had assist and a goal, but the way he defended also should not be overlooked because he was really good. It was really, really good yesterday.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned there about that 11 and how we pressed. Now you've got a question. You sent it to us in the group chat. I've intentionally not answered it because you wanted to bring it up on this. So fire away, ask the question. Spotlight's on you.
Yeah. Well, my question was that we have this 11, which, in my opinion, works perfectly in these counter-pressing situations. Also, there are many good other reasons to pick this specifically 11. But if you think about all the goals we scored yesterday, each and every one of them started from pressing situations one way or the other. We got a free kick when we were just pushing them back, or we won the ball back and something else came from that. And my question is, which other players than this specific 11 can do the same work and we don't suffer from it?
Anyone want to answer that?
I'll give you my first. I say Millie is one that I put there right away without thinking twice, but I can't name another one.
The way I would answer this question is I think we've got players that can potentially do it, but to learn how to fit into the way we press takes time. So there's players there that I think can potentially do it, but they're not quite up to speed just yet in how we do it as a unit. And that only comes with being around the club for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. So James Milner's one of them. He's been there years. He knows what we're doing. Yeah. Minamino is one who I think will be able to do it. We've seen glimpses of it. He did it against Everton. He was pressing hard in that first half. But he sometimes is going alone to do that. Whereas you see, prime example in this game, I think it was around the 80th minute, we're 4-0 up and they've got the ball, and then we've still got 4 players surrounding him and pressing him. And we do it as a unit. So we've got players there who I think do the press, but they sort of do it alone and not fully in sync with everyone. So for me, there's Milner's a definite. I'd say Minamino is one who can do it. He just needs to get more in sync with the team.
I'd say Divock.
I'd say Divock can. He's been in and out of the team, and we saw it against Barcelona. He doesn't play frequently enough, but when he comes in, he does put their defence under the pressure. So I think he is another one that potentially can. And Naby Keita's a weird one for me. I think he's got the ability to do it, but there's a big question mark over him in the fact that he's in and out of the team so much, whether he's 100% confident in his own body, because he struggles with the injuries, to be able to keep up that press on top of our intense football. I don't know, but he's someone that I think could do it, but we don't see it often enough because he doesn't get that regular run due to injuries, basically. I'm not going to say it's down to his performances, because when he does get a run of games, he plays well. But no, there's no one else who stands out. So you mentioned in the group about Shaq doing it against Barcelona. He's not someone I would associate with the press. He came on and he pressed against Barcelona, but was that a one-off?
Yeah. I think, definitely. I think in games like the Barcelona one, because that was obviously an example I was thinking about where Mo Salah, Firmino didn't play, and obviously these are players that I guess 99 times out of 100 are the first names on the sheet, and that's how we play our game. So you easily associate them with that. But we also had Divock Origi. We played a different style, a different lineup, I guess is the best way to put it. I think that game required a different intensity from the team and from the crowd. Something different carried that particular one. I try and think about the other players that we've got, and Shaqiri's the perfect example of an alternative option to try something else when plan A doesn't work or plan B is not quite going to plan. So you go, all right, well, we can put Shaqiri on, we can try something else. Maybe consider when we played Manchester United at Anfield and Shaqiri got 2 goals.
Yeah.
We did play a good pressing game then, but obviously we know how Man United like to set up against Liverpool at Anfield, and the role of Shaqiri was to be something different in that game. And he was fantastic. There was another game we played against Southampton, I think it was, near the start of last season, and Shaqiri played the first 45 minutes, had an absolute blinder, and then
got taken off. Yeah.
But obviously it comes back to how Jurgen Klopp really usually wants the team to play. Yeah. And Shaqiri adds an element of something different, but I don't think that's something that Jurgen Klopp, maybe as a short-term solution, yeah, it's great to have. You know, you can have Shaqiri who can offer something different. In years past, we've had Stephen Coker you can stick up front if you want, but it's good to have options, but I don't think as a long-term, this is how we play, this is how we carry ourselves, this is how we work, this is our intensity. I don't think there's many players that we've currently got outside of our current 11 from this morning who can support that, except for Divock Origi at times, Naby Keita potentially. James Milner obviously we know he can do it. He's a great example. Lallana's been fantastic, but obviously he's now leaving at the end of the season.
I was hoping to hear that name.
Yeah. No, he was one of the first names that came to mind. Only a few seasons ago, he was our player of the year in terms of how important he was to Jurgen Klopp's way of playing football.
Well, he was the first one that embraced it, wasn't it? He took it on board straight away.
Absolutely.
And he was there at the forefront of everything we did in the press. So he's sort of the forgotten man now, though, isn't he? Unfortunately.
Unfortunately so, yeah. He was
He's on his way out.
Yeah, even in some bit part appearances this season, he's still. I don't think he's come on and done a bad job. Anything like
Old
that.
Trafford.
Yeah, he got the equaliser at Old Trafford. He played very well against Everton at Anfield.
Yeah,
exactly that. So I still think he can do a job, but I think obviously for someone like Adam Lallana, you're getting to that stage in your career, you're probably still wanting to get more games in your legs and keep going. So completely.
Sell him to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Well, Leicester's on the cards, isn't it? Apparently,
that's why I heard Leicester. Yeah, but yeah,
Obvious reasons.
Aside from that, there's not a plethora or a large list. I even thinking about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's a great player to have in the squad, but he's not a fantastic pressing player. He can put pressure on. I've no doubt about that.
Yep.
But that's not one of his specialties. I think is the best way to put it.
No. Lee, could you think of anyone else to add to that list, or have we basically
I was going to say
ruined it for you?
But as James just said, I don't think there's many more than what we've already mentioned that could do that, really. I mean,
no.
Lallana, Divock, Shaq. Naby has still got to prove himself, I think. We've seen flashes of brilliance from him, but nothing consistent. And he does like to attack a lot more than I think he does defend, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. We've got players that can do the defending for him, but as an overall, press, counter, I don't think he's up to speed just yet. All in good time, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I said, there's players that can potentially do it, but it's getting comfortable with it and knowing and having having the intuition to know if I go here, Henderson's going to press here, or if I push here, Salah will push there. They just do it in tandem, and without everyone in sync, it doesn't work as well. So
and Naby's relatively fresh as well. Let's not forget, he's only ever played a couple of games here and there. What the hell are you laughing at, Steve?
Nothing. Just looking at a nice picture of Jurgen. You see, you'll understand at the end when you see it. But
fair enough.
Just going back. You've both mentioned. Sorry, go on, Jussi.
There were a couple of juniors on the pitch yesterday that were starting to do it. And I'm expecting Neko and
Harvey Elliott.
Harvey Elliott to be able to do that. At least they started to in patches. But,
that's it. And if they get it. If it gets ingrained into them at this young age, then it's going to be great for years to come.
Yeah, it's the perfect thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Nico looked amazing when he came
Nico looked brilliant. He did one pass through to Mo Salah where he just played
Split
it through.
The defence in half.
Salah looked
beautiful.
didn't look overly confident and just sort of tapped it back to Hennessy. But it was one of them passes, Lee, that you like the name of. It was a slide rule pass.
The slide rule, the made-up definition
that stupid
of a pass.
phrase, but no, he was brilliant. And Harvey Elliott had
used to do it all the time.
Yeah, he did. He was a specialist at it. But
was
Harvey Elliott had two good moments.
But was it a pass or a shot? Maybe it was a pass to Minamino.
From Salah. I think it was a bit of both, yeah.
Caught in two lines.
He scuffed it a little.
Yeah.
But no, it was great to see those two get on.
That would have been so beautiful to see Minamino score there.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful.
He's got to score finally, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Nah, Henderson's going to score there and just go mental. Celebrate in the crowd even though there's not anyone there.
Just start fucking punching the shit out of everyone.
He'll just go mad.
Just go crazy.
But I'm going to literally ignore what you're saying, Lee. What about we go back to Nico Williams?
Mm-hmm.
What's everyone's thoughts on him? Because obviously, who's he got in front of him? He's got Trent there at right back.
But I think we're all in agreement. So I think Trent's going to slowly move his way up the pitch. And obviously Nico is a perfect candidate to fill that gap. Don't get me wrong, Nico's very young, and so is Trent, of course. I don't want to see Nico leave because of Trent, and I don't think he will. But as I said, I think I said in the last part, I think Trent will either end up in Salah's position or in central midfield once, Hendo calls it a day or, whoever else.
We could have like a bloody half an hour discussion on Trent, but I think potentially if you move him out of right back, do you restrict his impact on the game because of where he can attack from so deep and the angles
we just
that
saw
he gets?
In Nico's cameo, he created a fair bit and caused a lot of trouble for Palace just in that 15 minutes he come on. So the groundwork's being laid for him. If he can sit with Trent for another 5 years and pick up all his traits that he does already, he'll be
That's a long time
player.
to wait for Nico Williams, 5 years.
No, but you know what I mean, right? He's obviously been under him for the last couple.
Yeah, no, he's gonna get more and more appearances, sort of
especially
coming off the bench
in the cups and whatever else. Yeah,
and I think you could even rest Trent in the odd game and put Nico in there and have Trent on the bench in case we need to change it up. But it's great to see that they've got two youngsters and then obviously Curtis Jones in there as well. That hopefully will have a sort of really good future with us. But only time will tell, and how we get them integrated is good. So that game, done and dusted, 4-0. We enjoy that. So we all know what that means, don't we? So basically, this time tomorrow, we could be confirmed Premier League champions, or we could have to wait until next week, depending on how the City-Chelsea game goes. So, a good friend of mine from school, Paul Garrard, put a question to us on Twitter, so I'm going to put it out to everyone on here. And it's gone around in the group as well. What would you rather? Chelsea to take points off City and we win tomorrow, or tonight for you, Jussi? Or City to beat Chelsea and then we go and win the game off our own backs by either getting a result at the Etihad, or if it doesn't happen there, we go on and beat Villa the week after or get a draw against Villa if that's what's needed. Lee, I think I know your answer already, so I'll leave you just now. I'm going to go straight in. Jussi, what's your opinions on that?
Well, my first opinion, obviously, on the chat was also that I don't care how it comes, as long as it comes. But if I have to choose, I'd actually kind of like the God of Honor at the City ground. That would be nice. Yeah, that would be nice. So I'm taking the Chelsea a draw or a win, whichever the way wherever it comes. I don't know. It would be lovely to have the God of Honor at the City ground.
Yeah, would be very good. James, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, look, me and Jussi are in the same boat in this one. I would. There's a part of me that would love to win it at the Etihad, but at the same time, I just want to win it at this stage. Football's been delayed by 3 months. I'm not interested in having to wait any longer. If Chelsea do us a favour tomorrow, I will be a very happy man. and I will celebrate that. The idea of a guard of honour with Raheem Sterling congratulating Liverpool as they walk onto the pitch as Premier League champions is something that arouses me big time. So I will be waiting for that hopefully next week.
Good. Lee?
Well, you saw my response to Paul on Twitter this morning, and it was just basically, we've waited 30 fucking years for this. Just get it. Just get it here as soon as possible.
Say it as it is.
We can have a Skype piss up with everybody tomorrow, or Zoom or whatever. Just go absolutely crazy. I don't care, basically, is my answer. Chelsea win, Chelsea draw, City win. It's coming.
Fair
It's
play.
coming.
I mean, my opinion of this is, in a normal season, in the normal world, I would want us to win it in front of our own fans. Get it won at Anfield with a packed stadium.
No, absolutely.
But this isn't a normal season. The element of the fans is gone. As you both, or as all three of you have said, we've waited 30 years for this. We get so close, we get within touching distance, and then a pandemic hits the world. So the season gets suspended. So as far as I'm concerned, just get it won.
Yeah.
Just get Chelsea City done. Give us the title. And then it would be sweet to win it at the Etihad, but at the same time, that guard of honour would be beautiful.
Do you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see City give us a guard of honour, and as Joe Gomez is walking out, just flick Sterling in the dick. Just carry on walking. That'll shut you up, you little prick.
That's social distancing for you.
Well, hey, he's wearing shorts. Well, I presume he will be. Just to rub that salt in a little bit. Not literally, just, metaphorically.
Just a little bit of a flick.
Yeah. Just fucking twat him or tweak his nipples. Something. Just,
I think you're getting a bit carried away now.
well, possibly. Can you blame me?
You've got James saying he was getting aroused at the thought of us winning it and the guard of honour and stuff. You got Lee talking about flicking dicks and stuff.
Stick with it now, eh?
It's taken another turn. So, Paul Garrard, thanks for that. You've brought on some interesting topic, and we did say
as well. Don't forget. Yeah.
we did say that we're going to get him on one of the pods in the future. So we shall do that. So that is. Has anyone got anything else they want to talk about with regards to Liverpool related stuff? And I say that for a reason.
Yeah.
No,
No,
all good. So we're all in
All happy
agreement.
days.
We want Chelsea to get a result against City. We want the league wrapped up. We want that guard of honour. Job done. Celebrate the league title. I've got my Champions t-shirt ready to wear. I don't care. I'm not jinxing anything. I'm going to wear it with pride. Job done. So, you see, James, I don't know if you listened to our pod last week, but we decided during the pandemic suspension, me and Lee were going to do a pod. And it was going to be one of these culture couch ones of just random discussions. So Lee sent me a long list of the most random questions you've ever seen.
From Google, not from my
From
brain.
Google. I don't know where they came from. He just obviously plucked them from notes somewhere.
I was
But
working on.
we never got round to recording this pod. So last week we decided that at the end of every pod we do, myself and Lee, whoever we've got on as a guest, we are going to ask one of those questions.
Great.
So brace yourself. I'm just going to... And I'm not going to fix it here. So, James.
Why don't you should ask the one that we did off camera last week.
Ooh.
Because
Okay.
I've answered that. So,
So that was the three things in the shop, yeah?
yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask that one, and then we're going to go for all out for a new one. So the
Righty.
first one. What are the three things you could buy at a grocery store to make the cashier give you weird looks? James, I'm going to come straight to you.
Yeah, great. This pandemic's really not been good to you boys, has it? All right.
We like
So-
to end on a beautiful note.
So three things, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go with massage oil,
Yep.
a cucumber,
Yes.
and a bouquet of flowers.
Whoa. A night of joy.
Oh yeah.
It's like a
I
day
like
back
that.
home for you.
Yeah.
That's good.
And as I'm leaving, I'll just let them know that I'm still single.
Oh dear. Jussi, what would your 3 items be?
Oh, that's a difficult one. Because I was thinking of cucumber.
Everyone likes the cucumber.
See, I didn't use the metaphor. I went literal with mine last week.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know if you can buy them at grocery shops. I mean,
I'll start with a menu shirt.
sorry to get
Okay.
Or any menu products could get you those looks, and possibly condoms.
Playing
Interesting.
safe. I like it.
Because what's third? I don't know. I'll go with chocolate.
Chocolate. So, a Man United product, some condoms, and some chocolate.
Definitely give you some weird looks for that one.
You know how to live, Jussi. That sounds like a wild party.
What are you putting over your head, though? United product or the condom?
Well, both sound pretty good to me.
I was just wondering if the Man United shirt was because there might have been a toilet roll shortage in Finland.
Oh, true.
There you go.
There you see, toilet roll
Good
game.
work.
Okay, so we're going to do a fresh one because me and Lee have already answered that. James, pick a number between 1 and 4.
Oh, Christ. Okay, I picked the number. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so that number is 3.
Okay, so the third one. And we have a choice of 2 questions. So, Jussi, question 1 or question 2?
2.
2. Okay, so this is going to go out to everyone. And Lee, I'm going to put it to you because you've read these questions before, so the others have got a bit more time to
Yeah,
think.
but I like what you did there, so I didn't know which one you were going for. So,
See, good.
I know your
So,
tricks.
would you rather have a disease that makes you say every thought that ever crosses your mind, or a disease that makes you react very inappropriately to all the interactions that happen to you and around you?
I think it feels like they're both the same almost. Because if I reacted, what was the first one? If I saw everything, said everything I had on my mind.
Yeah.
Well, I think most of that would be reacting inappropriately. You know what I mean? So if you said, how you doing? I go fuck yourself.
But you do that
Have a good
anyway.
day. Have a good day. Don't tell me what to do. So for me, it'd be number 1. It'd be like liar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not telling the truth here. Lee, can you work extra this weekend? Nah, get fucked. Yeah, no.
Straight to the point.
Number
James?
number 1 for me.
James?
So, say whatever's on my mind with no control of being able to stop it, or react inappropriately.
Yes.
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because you will anyway, apparently. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with option 1 as well. I'm just going to say it.
Just say it as it
Well,
is.
that is what the Scottish folk do anyway. So.
Fuck off, Lee.
Oh dear. You see? 1 or 2?
Oh. I have the option 1 already, so I'm going to stick with that.
Okay.
That's
Well,
me. That's me.
I'm just going to be different and say number 2 and act inappropriately because I'm an immature bastard, so I'll just act inappropriately to whatever anybody
for
does.
example, then, so Steve, how was your day at work today? Do it.
No.
I don't want to see this.
No, you don't.
Can we turn the
Listeners don't want
cameras
to
off?
hear it either.
Could have just described it. I mean, come on, you don't have to physically do it.
My day at work was shite, Lee.
That's number 1.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. But anyway, so those are some random questions. So we will be delivering some more of them. So I'm sorry if I bored anyone at the end of that listening for Liverpool discussion, but we've said we're going to do it until we've gone through them all. So has anyone else got anything else they want to talk about?
I actually wanted to mention, I know we talked about Fabinho being man of the match, but I'm just going to keep talking about him if you don't mind.
Go.
So Lee mentioned
the mic is
earlier,
yours.
Thank you very much.
I won't interrupt you.
Oh, so rude. Right, so Fabinho, obviously, Lee mentioned about him being a defensive midfielder. That's predominantly the role that he plays with the squad. I'm starting to really feel that he's a lot more than just a defensive midfielder. He's got so much more versatility to his game. I was having a look at the stats from the game this morning. He played 91 passes and had a 98% pass accuracy. That's impressive. That is phenomenal. And it's not just a simple, I'm going to pass the ball 2 yards to my left to Henderson or 5 yards back to Van Dijk. There are some sprawling passes.
Yeah, he's not Michael Carrick with his sideways passing all the time.
No, that's more like Xavi and Iniesta stuff.
Yeah, he's not stealing 11, this guy. Like this is probably one of the most important signings that Jurgen Klopp has made. We've been needing someone in the engine room who can do that consistently. We've obviously tried to have Gini Wijnaldum sit in a bit deeper. We've had Jordan Henderson do the same thing as well, and not bad results or anything like that. But this guy is almost alien compared to everyone else. It is freakish how top his stats are. I know we mentioned he got injured before the whole COVID thing kicked in. When he came back, he was a little bit unsure, maybe a little bit leggy at times, but
yeah.
When he's on his game, which is majority of the time, it's not just about the front three. It's right through the team now. Right from Alisson, who didn't have to make one save at all. No one stepped inside his box, to Van Dijk and Gomez in the middle, who were so good they weren't even mentioned in this podcast, to be honest.
No.
That's how assured and how confident we are in this squad now. We used to be able to turn around and say, the front three were fantastic, but Jesus Christ, we've got Lovren sitting in centre back who's causing us absolute pandemonium. But nowadays, it's a different story. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think
well said.
Fabinho, we say like prior to his injury, I think he was our player of the season. Then he picked up that injury, which was unfortunate, and then he had that rusty period. But he seems to sort of last 2/3 of the game against Everton, and then today's game, absolutely brilliant. And he's just such a player to have on the books. It's brilliant. One thing we did mention, I'm going to bring someone else up again as well. It was mentioned earlier, Gini Wijnaldum. A lot of people watch him and say, what did he do? He's sort of a bystander in a game. But to anyone listening, or to you three on here, I just say to you, get fucked, first of all. Watch a game back over again and just watch Gini Wijnaldum and what he does. Because when you're watching a game, first off, you're not particularly focusing on particular players and what they do. You're watching the ball, you're watching what's happening a lot of the time. But if you can sit down and watch it again and just watch what he does off the ball, watch his movement, watch his positioning. Brilliant player. Technically, I think one of the best players we've got in the squad. But he does not get enough recognition, in my opinion. He comes up, obviously there's the games where the Barcelona game with the 2 goals and he was the hero there. He's done it at other times and I've just fallen over. But I'm still alive. But for me, he is very important to us. There's talks that he's not that important to us and we're not going to offer him a new deal or things like that.
We've got to get that sorted.
He is a phenomenal player. Someone who goes about his business quietly. But as I say, just watch those games back and watch what he does. And then you start to appreciate him more as a player. I always try and watch the game back a second time and just watch more of the players. I know what's coming, so I can sort of pay attention to other movements and things. And he is prime example to not make your first assumption on how he played in the game. Just watch him again, and what he does is outstanding. So to anyone who slags him off, get fucked.
Yeah.
I've said it.
Yeah.
Same goes for Hendo too. Anyone who dislikes him or thinks he should get fuck themselves too.
Yeah. I think with Gini Wijnaldum, it's really, really good point you make. It's almost like we go through this cycle, this sort of Gini Wijnaldum, what does he actually do? oh, well, this is actually what he does. Oh, yeah, he does actually, doesn't he? Oh, he's phenomenal. We really need him. He's so important. And then all of a sudden, after a while, it's like, well, actually, what does he do? Do we actually need him? Is he that important? It's happened since he joined the club. Where people are like, yeah, he's a good player, but does he actually bring much to the game? Because people look for the assists, they look for the goals, but they're not looking at, like as I mentioned before, Fabinho, they're not looking at the engine room and the work that goes on that allows the other players to break free, like Robbo, so...
And that's it. And then you go and watch Holland go and play, and Gini will get a couple of goals every other game.
Yeah.
So, well, why isn't bringing that to Liverpool? Now, don't get me wrong, he could have scored a couple today or last night, wherever you are.
Yeah.
But, he's got that in him. I mean, look at that. Sorry, Jussi. But look at that goal he scored against Bournemouth, that lob at Anfield last season it was. Just stuff like that. That's not normal for a central midfielder to do. That's more of a Salah finish or some top quality strikers finish. Even like again, Barcelona. What hasn't been said about that game? He comes off the bench for Robbo, and he just smashes the game to pieces.
And don't forget the first leg at the Nou Camp. He was playing the false 9 position, and he didn't have a bad game. He actually played well. We were just very unfortunate in that game. So he's one of them.
Usually underestimated.
He's a utility man. But more than that, you can put him in so many positions and he will do a job.
This brings me back to my earlier question about the first 11. And who do you replace Gini with in the world? If you could put anyone in there and do that exact job, who would you replace him with?
Well, I know Lee's going to chirp up with Thiago.
I am, indeed.
Is it?
He's fucking fantastic player. I'm sorry, I just because it was come up in Twitter today, and I'm sure Steve saw it, obviously. But what he does for Bayern Munich, when you think of the players like Leon Goretzka, Thomas Müller, I mean, they're studs of a player. But Thiago just ticks it all together. And don't get me wrong, if he walked into Liverpool, I'll be happy as Larry, like I would have been for Coutinho or Mbappe, Havertz, any of them. I don't care. We're not buying shit players anymore. Sorry, I'm just saying. Play on.
Yeah, my second question would be, if you put Trent there and Nico on the right, would Trent be able to do Gini's job? Or
different player completely.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's my reason why I wouldn't switch. That's why I wouldn't switch Trent's position, because where he plays now, he has all the freedom and all the time in the world to do what he does. If he'd be in the middle, he'd more like, but he's the playmaker now for us. The midfield players are doing all the dirty work, and he gets to enjoy it. I don't know. That's why I wouldn't switch him. Yeah. Not that he wouldn't be able to do it, but like he's got all the time in the world now.
Yeah,
and I think. Don't get me wrong. Sorry, Steve. But I was only talking hypothetically. It's like he has played central mid before in his earlier days, and of course, anything is an option for Trent later in life. The sky's the limit for that kid. He's unreal, but like you, don't move him unless we have to or we need to.
Yeah, I think that's a move we might see later in his career.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon, because you put him in that midfield position, I think you restrict the positives and the impact that he has in his game from deep and out wide. You put him in the middle of the park, and I also think he has a few, maybe it's age, inexperience, he has a few issues with concentration in the game as well, where he gets caught out. Put him in the centre of the park, I think that gets exposed even further. So I'm not saying no to it, but I think we're talking 5-6 years down the future possibly. So we'll see. But it's definitely an option they can look at in the future. Just not anytime soon. There might be a game where they think they want to give Nico a run out and they'll give Trent a position in there against a weaker side, but
it'll be a future Millie.
That remains to be seen. Good stuff. Any more topics? Any more questions?
No, all good, man.
Perfect. Okay, guys, James, Jussi, Lee, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for coming back on. James, it's been a while. Jussi, it came up, said it'd been 9 months since we last did our pod, so
wow.
We need to get you on a bit more often. And James, Same with you,
Yeah.
Lee. We just do it regularly and get people on with us as much as we can. So thanks for coming on,
Adel.
and thanks for everyone for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
What a head, son!